You know what we haven't done in a while on this channel? Unboxing hauls. It's been a couple of months since our last one, and I think that's a problem. Sure, we've done a couple of reviews in the past, and they're great, but nothing quite beats the rush of rapidly opening up a bunch of figures and showing them off to you guys. So that's what our plan is today. Let's rectify that problem. So we got 4 figures to talk about today, all exceptionally nice from what I've heard, so I can't wait to check them out myself, but I also have some miscellaneous merchandise that I'd like to share with you guys, all from one specific series. And if you follow this channel, you definitely know what that series is. But I do want to make an exception very quickly, so here we have the Sonic and Corone collaboration plushie. Now this just feels like it was tailor-made for my specific taste, but anybody could have ordered this plushie. It was made to order, so unfortunately if you want this now, it's probably going to be pretty expensive on the aftermarket. But either way, I gotta say the Hololive team did a phenomenal job. This is adorable, and I'm pretty impressed at the amount of, like, I don't know, details that they packed into this, like, pretty affordable plushie, all things considered. Should be able to sit up straight, but her head is so big that it rarely happens, at least on my copy. Well, there you go, okay. But unfortunately, I do have to move her. So let's put her over there and start talking about some figures. Alright, so first up we got the Rei Ayanami tentative name version from Alter. This is a collaboration figure with the EVA Global Store, and I'm pretty sure was a fairly popular release. A lot of people are looking forward to this one, myself included. Now the one thing I do know about this figure is that apparently people think it's a little too small. And I don't really have any other Rei figures or even Asuka figures outside of the Radio EVA Part 2 figures, so that's the only comparison I can make. But just judging it based off of like what I'm looking at, it doesn't seem too small. Why is this so hard? Ooh, I love this color. This base is so simple, but man, I don't even know if that's getting picked up on camera. Well, I could really appreciate a very simple figure to put together after Flandre. I guess I'm done. Before I forget, you also get a bonus Shikishi board with every order. Just a nice illustration that the figure is based on. Honestly, this is a great bonus. I wish more figures came with stuff like this. Just like little art pieces. They go a long way to appreciating the figure itself. Now, I don't know if it's just my copy, but this is a little wobbly on the bottom of the base. You know what it is? You can't really see this on camera, but the peg is sticking out of the bottom of the base just slightly enough so that when you try and rest it somewhere, it's not flush with the disc anymore. It's hitting that peg, which is causing the imbalance. I'm not even shaking the desk. I'm tapping the base, and she's wobbling all over the place. That's pretty bad, you know? I think I could fix that, but I shouldn't have to, you know? I hope other people don't have that issue that I do, but that's a bad first impression, I gotta say. Luckily though, the paint job and the sculpts are 10 out of 10. I did my best looking for any imperfections, paint transfers, scuffs, stuff like that, but she's pretty spotless. I am not seeing anything wrong with this figure when it comes to just like the paint execution. Now, I do think that they went with a slightly different approach on the plug suit than what the promotional photos promised, but I'm not really upset at that. I do think those photos looked slightly better, but I do like what we got here. It's a nice shade of blue. It mixes well with the red, with like the slight hints of green throughout the plug suit, right? But, you know, overall, I think the most important part of this figure is the hoodie, like the sweatshirt, right? I think that is where this figure really shines. That's the appeal of this specific Rei. Just the way that she's wearing it, you know? The fact that it looks like it's one size too big, how she's delicately gripping the left sleeve. There's something about this pose, this setup, that just feels so, I don't know, fragile, innocent. That's what I'm feeling when I look at this Rei figure. And maybe that's also partly due to her expression as well. There's just something so gentle and calming about it. I think her face is beautiful, and her hair as well. I'm pretty sure they're using translucent plastic for the hair, but there's also like an extra coating of matte paint on top of that. It just produced an overall fantastic hair sculpt. So you know what? This is not the most elaborate figure, but it's a very pretty one. You know, it has the details where it matters. I love how they sculpted all the clothing on this figure. Her hair looks phenomenal. Her face is very pretty, like I said earlier, and I'm pretty happy with it. I just hope I can fix this base because this is annoying. I really don't like that, but I would say overall like a 9 out of 10, as long as it doesn't fall over and break, I guess, because of the faulty base. Oh, and as for the size comparison I kind of forgot to do earlier, I took out Asuka, I got them side by side here, and yeah, there's certainly a height difference between the two figures, but this isn't the most fair comparison as these are made by different companies altogether. The only reason I feel like this is worth mentioning is because I just have a feeling a lot of people are going to own both of these figures. Outside of their height, I think Rei's thinner body is contributing to that feeling of her being smaller than expected. Luckily for me, I don't really have a problem with that, but you might, so I just wanted to touch upon that really quick. Alright, cleared the desk. Next up is Jill Stingray. We got her Nendoroid right here. Oddly difficult to find now. Did not expect that to happen. Oh, I took the whole tray out. Oh, they taped the base to the back. Why would you do that? I gotta like carefully pull it off now so I don't damage the artwork. I like that they decorate these trays, but I would never use them outside of the box. Like, that's just the design of it. Leave it alone, you know? This arm feels so weird. Like, the top is so loose, but the bottom's so stiff. I might have to fix that later. Yeah, you could tell. The arm is definitely weak. It should be able to hold her up. She is not big, so I'll tighten that later. And there you have it. Jill Stingray all set up and looking pretty dang cute. I would say overall a pretty nice package, you know? Faceplates are looking good. You got the basic one right here, which is very standard, but it fits her, so I actually like this more than I was expecting. The shy faceplate where she's blushing and smiling a little bit kind of warms my heart. And the other one, which I think they call the sisterly bonding ending faceplate, is very unique. I don't think you will find that anywhere else. So play the game to find out what the significance of that is, but it's very, like, goofy. And I think that's fun for a character like Jill to have with her Nendoroid. As far as accessories go, you get for the cat. I have him chilling on the bottom of the base. You get a martini glass, which is probably my favorite little accessory in this package. I just like the way it looks. You get a cocktail shaker, which, of course, she's a bartender. She has to have something like that. You get a cigarettes, and I think that might be it. You know, nothing crazy, but enough. It does speak to her character. I do feel like this is a pretty great representation of her for like a $50 figure, right? And honestly, I really just like the look of her bartender uniform. I feel like even if you weren't crazy about this game, this would just be a great like outfit to body swap with other Nendoroids, but I think this is a really cute Nendoroid. You get to pose her twin tails if you want to, or I guess maybe I should call them pigtails. Not sure. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, I don't really think the accessories matter for a figure like this because it's just nice to get a figure of Jill in the first place. I do really appreciate that the faceplates and the accessories are good, but I mostly wanted this because I like Valhalla, and I like the character Jill. If you've never played the game, it's essentially like a bartender simulator. Mostly plays out like a visual novel. You're pretty much just like making drinks for people in a downtown bar in like a dystopian city. And you just kind of like talk to the people. You make the drinks that they want, and it has like the best soundtrack ever. I use it sometimes in some of my videos. You might have recognized that if you played the game. I think it's great. I think everybody should try it, you know? Visual novel games aren't for everybody, but I think it has enough style, and I think that soundtrack will legitimately keep you playing, and the writing's good too. So, yeah, I don't know. Just Jill. Just a cute Jill. I have her plushie over there. If they make more Jill figures, I'm gonna want them too, especially if they're stylized more like the arts from like the cover of the game or like one of the promotional images of it. I'll put it on screen right now. I would love a figure of her that looked exactly like that. But yeah, cute stuff. Let's move on. All right, got your next figure right here. Pretty big box. This one was purchased from the Good Smile Company global store because you can't beat that $18 flat rate shipping. Didn't pre-order this though because it wasn't really on my radar at first, but I bought it off of somebody on MFC. Pretty underrated strat buying somebody's pre-order because this figure specifically seems like pretty in demand. I don't know how the aftermarket is treating this figure, but seems like it's sold out in a lot of places. Let's check it out. All right, hold on. There we go. Whew, there you have it. Okay, Asuna Ichinose Bunny Girl version from Max Factory. The first of a couple. Not sure how far I want to fall down this blue archive rabbit hole, but I'm in there now, and I do have another on pre-order, but we'll talk about that at another time. This, though, has some nice presentation. It's like a casino-style box design, which is rather fun. But despite the pretty big size, I'm pretty sure this is very easy to assemble, so let's just do that really quickly. Okay, gotta stand up again for all these big boxes. Is this not excessive? This is the base. It's bigger than my head, by like a lot. Well, it certainly feels nice, so that's something. It's interesting how the top part of the stool, the cushion, is already attached to her butt, but then you have to plug in the bottom part. Very simple, though. Almost forgot her halo. This really is a bit too much, isn't it? But I guess it makes Asuna feel a little bit more extravagant just because of how much, like, real estate she's taking up. And the fact that, like, the rim of the base is marble. Not that I'm the biggest fan of the design, but I get what they're going for. And the fluffy material does feel good. And ultimately it's designed like this because of how many, like, strands of hair are reaching the floor. If you didn't have something like this, they either had to, like, bolt her down, or you would risk, like, you know, scratching up the hair, which ultimately you don't want to do. So you could forego the base entirely. She will stand up. But for this demonstration, I'm not going to do that. Now, if I could be frank for just a second here, not that I know the guy or anything, this chest sculpt is absolutely massive. And I know that's what I should have expected based on the promotional images, but I almost feel like those promotional images don't paint the exact picture. And maybe it's just because I don't collect a lot of figures like this, just coincidentally so. There's no real reason behind that, I just happen to like a lot of modest character designs, but yeah, I don't know, I was very caught off guard when I saw this Asuna figure for the first time. Also, her side boob is, like, intense. I would say more so than looking at the figure straight on. You know what, let me point it towards the camera so I stop drooling over it. Alright, but what do we want to talk about here? I feel like there's a couple of key elements that I have to highlight for sure. One that I already technically did, but let's talk about her face next. Now, I think they did a phenomenal job. In fact, I think her face is perfect. An expression like this needs careful consideration to pull off perfectly, at least that's the way I feel. Like if her eye placement was a little bit off, or her smile wasn't like spot on, it just wouldn't look right, you know? They really managed to hone in on that like mischievous, naughty angle that they were going for. So I think like 10 out of 10 for the face. Probably not like a standout feature, but her halo also looks good. I like their placement of it. It actually does make it look like it's floating above her head. And the multiple rings also kind of blend in, and it doesn't really feel like they're all connected together, if that makes sense. Honestly, for like the cheapest looking part of the figure, it still looks good. I think above all else, and I don't think anybody would disagree here, her hair sculpt is absolutely the most impressive part of this figure. Not only just because it's extremely lengthy, not only because all of those individual strands of hair are curling around on the bottom of the base in a really natural way, but the shading is also great. Also, I just love the way her hair is draping off of the stool. It's such a sharp angle, but it makes it look more natural and realistic. Again, that's kind of why I feel like the hair sculpt is the best part of this figure. I think it's absolutely perfect. The paint is so clean, there's like no flaw anywhere to be found. The sculpt's as attractive as you can imagine. The legs look fantastic. I don't think I mentioned that yet. I think the one downside here is that you don't get to see her back at all, like her shoulder blades, her neck, her butt, none of that, because her hair is so long. But what can you do? That's her character design. It's a shame, but I'm not really complaining about that. Also, even from this angle, you could still see her chest. It's that big, so you get something from the back at the very least. Now, the one thing I've yet to talk about is the bodysuit, the actual bunny suit itself. Now, this is why I typically don't like freeing figures that much. I feel like their plasticky, glossy clothing is just not to my liking. If you like it, that's fine, but for me, I feel like it's a little bit too copy and paste. It doesn't really do anything for me, but with this Asuna figure, it's actually wrinkly. It actually has this like nice glistening light blue paint job to it. It looks like an actual piece of clothing to me, and in combination with the black pantyhose, just makes for one killer look. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park with this figure, so I think it gets full marks. This is like the definitive bunny figure for me. I'm not gonna say it's the best bunny figure out there, but for me, it has the colors, it has the attractiveness, it has the giant obnoxious base. I guess that is the one thing that is an actual downside of this figure, but you can work around it. You don't even have to use the base if you don't want to. Just be careful with her hair. Even the stool's cushion looks good, and they didn't have to do that. They could have just sculpted a basic stool and placed her on top of it with like a magnet or something, but it's actually sunken down a little bit because she's sitting on top of it, and they sculpted it to make it look like that's what's actually happening. And you know what's funny? This might not even be the best figure that we're opening today, but I would still give it a 10 out of 10. Alright, so before we get into that last figure, let's talk about the miscellaneous items I've been picking up over the past few months. Now, if you guessed Xenoblade in the beginning of the video, congrats! It wasn't very difficult, but I'm glad you remembered. It makes me happy. Now, I've just been picking up a lot of stuff over the past few months because I'm working towards a big collection of just Xeno items along with my girlfriend. I'll talk about that more in detail at a later point, but I'm pretty excited to show off some of this stuff because a lot of it is pretty neat. For example, I had to get these when I saw them. We have the Mio and Noah plushies. I think I did that backwards, actually. Mio and Noah plushies from Xenoblade 3. Now, these are not officially made. Nintendo and Monolith are not making stuff like this, but the fans are willing to, so both of these are made by Magpie. I'll link their Twitter in the description down below if you'd like to follow them. I'm really happy that she made these, because you know how much I like Mio, and I couldn't leave her without Noah. They had to be together, so I bought them. I like them. They're very dangly when it comes to their feet, but I think that's cute. And they're pretty much stylized like Fumo's, which is just like a plushy style that's kind of universally liked, so I think that was a great idea to kind of just like translate that into the Xenoblade characters. But yeah, give them a follow, and I love these. These are fantastic, honestly, like very happy with this purchase. Something not as cool though are these coasters from My Nintendo. They just like randomly announced that they were gonna do this. And yeah, they're coasters. There's a couple of stickers as well that came with these, which I guess is nice, but if you bought Mio's notebook, you already have the exact same stickers, just with like 30 more on top of that. There were like 700 platinum points, and then you had to pay $7 shipping. Really not worth it, but I mean, that's cool. It's definitely cool to have. How about this though? We have a wooden postcard as a pre-order bonus for Xenoblade 3. I don't remember which region this is from. Just a high quality piece of wood with the characters printed on the front and an image of Ionios on the back. That's it. It's like 10 bucks. I don't know. You can buy this pretty easily if you want it. All right, these next two are way cooler though. We have the Metallic Museum keychains for Xenoblade 1 and 3. Essentially, they're little metallic replicas of the swords that Noah and Shulk use. Now, there's no Xenoblade 2 equivalent for some reason. Don't know why they never made that, but these all happened after 2 was released, so I guess that's why. I'll get some better shots of these later, but these are definitely some of the coolest pieces of official merchandise released for Xenoblade. Though I'm never going to use them because I'm pretty sure these chip very easily. You get the Monado as well as Lucky 7, or the Truth Singer, or the Hidden Sword, whatever they want to call it, because it doesn't really have an official name at this point, but I love it nonetheless. Have you ever bought a magazine that you just can't read just because a character that you really like is on the cover of it? Well, now I could say that I have. This is Weekly Famitsu, volume 1756. And this artwork, I'm pretty sure was drawn specifically for Famitsu, which does make this feel a little bit more special. There's also this like thing you could take out of the magazine if you want. It's double-sided, but I ain't gonna remove that, because what am I gonna do with it? Unless I frame it or something, but I'm gonna leave it as is. Honestly though, I miss magazines like this. I wish they were more prevalent in the US, because I used to love Nintendo Power and Electronic Gaming Monthly, but you know, the new Game Informer magazine, it's kind of crap, and there's nothing really that hits quite like those old magazines. Now these next two I also can't read, but they're more so art books, so I feel like that's more acceptable. This is the Xenoblade The Secret Files Monado Archives, which does have a lot of text that I just wish I could read. I think it's been fan translated, but you know, it would just be nice to have this book where I could open it, just scan the pages, learn some new information about Xenoblade. But yeah, a lot of it really is just like information of the world, which is really cool, but unfortunately was never localized, so I can't really enjoy it for that. But always down to buy more Xenoblade stuff, especially the art books. I really want them to make a Xenoblade 3 art book. But in the meantime, if I can get this out, we have the Xenoblade 2 official artworks. Art's Record, is that what it said on the cover? I couldn't really read that. This is definitely more of a traditional art book, and I will say, is probably the better book if you were only going to buy one, if you didn't have the money for both, but you were a fan of the series as a whole. And the great thing about art books like this is that they're always being made, so if you missed out, you can just get them still for like the retail price. It's just always in circulation, they're always being printed, and that's great for me because I just picked these up. Alright, here we go, the finale for this section. Now, a while ago I talked about Xenoblade acrylic stands. I don't remember specifically which video that was in, but I do recall someone leaving me a comment saying that they had to skip that part of the video because they just did not give a shit. Well, this one's gonna go out for you, buddy. I don't think I've seen you comment since, so maybe you really were upset about those acrylic stands, but I bought them all now. I have every single one that they've made for Xenoblade 3. I love the fact that they made these. I hope they make more, but I'm not expecting them to. I don't think they're really like hot sellers. But if they could just make one more wave, I would really love it if they went to Future Redeemed and made those characters. The main 6 plus Niel, and then maybe throw in Nia and Melia from Xenoblade 3. I just feel like not having those two as acrylic stands also feels like we're missing something. So I guess that's like 9 more at that point. Might be a bit too much. They usually release these in 6, but we'll see. I hope we're not done, but I am expecting us to be. So, let's clean up this table and move on. Alright, final figure time, and this one is another doozy. Amayami asked for like 13,000 yen just to get this shipped to my house, and the figure itself was 30,000, so I paid quite a lot for this, and it also dropped in price like a month later. So, you know, it is what it is. Fate figures often do that. But here we go. This one, I don't even have to take out of the box for you to know. This is the BB Moon Cancer figure, and I don't know what else to say. Let's take her out. Oh, it's like Christmas every time. This is a really nice looking box. You got the moon dripping on this panel, likely with blood. It's kind of in the shape of the Holy Grail now that I think about it. Not sure if that's intentional though. You also have some high quality images of the figure on the side, and I really like the purple foil used for some of the text. It just has fantastic presentation overall. But anyway, this is the BB Moon Cancer Devilish Flawless Skin version. Now, there are 2 different versions of this figure, one where she is very pale, and one where she has a tan. This is the exclusive version. Not exactly sure why one is exclusive and one isn't, but they're slightly different. Besides the skin complexion, you also get a different faceplate. And also the base is a little different, which I didn't know before buying this figure. But let's open her up and check her out. I gotta say, this might be a first. This is an entire blister, a very big blister, mind you, just for the hair and head. Don't think I've ever seen that before. So this entire figure is pretty much assembled from the get-go outside of the head. You don't have to put her on that base. This is so silly. There is so much hair on this figure. There it is, my sleep paralysis demon. Let's get it attached. It's like so close to being flush, but I just cannot push it down anymore. But this is actually kind of nerve-wracking, so I'm gonna stop here, and when I get to the B-roll, I'll try and fix it. But anyway, here is BB. I guess I'll just leave her here for now. That should be good. Now, a lot of people were worried about this one being a little bit too small because she is a 1/8 scale, which is a little bit of a departure for Fate figures. I feel like most of them are 1/7 scale these days, but it certainly doesn't feel like it. I guess, sure, if you were to like measure the bodies to other Fate figures, it would look a little bit smaller, but she's being, you know, levitated up a little bit. Or not levitated, she's being lifted up a little bit by all the tentacles on the bottom of the base, and her hair is so voluminous, right? Love to say that word when looking at figures with nice hair sculpts, but this might be queen voluminous with how like wide her hair sculpt is. So there's certainly like a huge presence to this figure, even if she is technically on the smaller scale side. But one thing that I wasn't expecting with this figure is this bottom portion of the base. They didn't advertise that at all, so I think a lot of us were just expecting the tentacles to be the only part of the base. Maybe like a small disc just to support it all, but instead we're getting this elevated platform, which does make her taller, which does make it look bigger, so I guess I won't complain about that. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of blue. The tanned version actually has a red base, which I feel like fits her color palette way better. So, unfortunately, I do feel a little bit shafted in this area, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. It's still a nice shade of blue. And they actually added some glitter to the bottom of the base, like you could run your finger on it, and some of it might actually come off because you could actually feel that it's on there. So just be careful when touching the bottom of the base here. You might take off some of the glitter. Regardless of what you think about the bottom of the base, the tentacles are great. There's about 6 of them down here. They're all intertwining with each other. They're painted in a very glossy red, yellow, and black color scheme, and they act as a platform for her to stand on, again, making her look a little bit taller than the typical 1/8 scale. And I'm not really even convinced that they're like being summoned out of the base. I feel like that's what they're going for with this blue, I don't know, splash, whatever it's supposed to be down here, but it doesn't really matter. You know, when you're looking at this figure, you're seeing the tentacles, and there's so many of them, and they're just like so erratic, right? And I think they definitely delivered in that aspect. They look really, really good, and they definitely complement the rest of the sculpt, especially these vampire wings. They're very leathery in their appearance, and they almost look like claws. They're so sharp. You got the tentacles down here, you got the vampire wings up here. Everything's a bit demonic, right? Looks pretty cool if you ask me. The paint is definitely a highlight for sure. It's very glossy, just like those tentacles, but from a distance you might not get to appreciate the purples and dark reds mixed into here. There's even a little bit of white airbrushing just to make it not look as flat. I'm really impressed at all the creases, especially around her arms. It looks so wrinkly, and I love that. There's also a whole lot of metallic red in this design as well, like for the spikes. The ribbons are that metallic red, the inside of the collar, and even the wings themselves. I believe there's a bit of a gradation there where it gets a little bit darker, but I'm pretty sure it's the same type of paint. We already talked about the hair a little bit. It is enormous, it is impressive, and the plastic for the most part is translucent, like semi-translucent. You could tell that it's a bit foggy right towards the tips, but as you go up towards the top of her head, it's more of a traditional matte. So I guess you get the best of both worlds. It would probably look a little bit better if it was all matte, but I do like its appearance. I'm not complaining about it at all here. I am a little concerned though because the headpiece was very heavy considering all of that hair is attached to it, and there's no like support. There's nothing back there besides the neck joint keeping this in place. So I don't know if anything's gonna happen to it, but I am a little scared of the future, but I guess it's fine for now. I think I mentioned this earlier, but the reason I wanted this specific version of BB kind of came down to the faceplates. Now they both share one demonic faceplate where her eyes are red, and she's kind of grinning a little like sinisterly, and I do feel like that faceplate fits the rest of the sculpt a little bit better. Hell, it might even be the better option, and I do like it quite a bit. But man, this cheeky faceplate is so cute, and that's kind of the end of it. That's why I like this faceplate. I just like this expression on anime characters, what could I say? And you know, outside of that little tongue sculpt, I think the eye decals are great. They're super clean. I love the color of her eyes. The eyelashes are very like bushy. So phenomenal face sculpts all around. I guess all that's really left to talk about with this figure is the body sculpt, and you know, pretty attractive. She's wearing a leotard, she's got high heels on, and naturally both of those things combined just makes her legs look a little bit longer and more slender, which is obviously pretty alluring. She's also got a pretty big bust, which just kind of adds to the shape of the character, right? And considering this is the like devilish, flawless skin, whatever it's supposed to be called, they did a pretty good job with the shading on her skin. So they definitely nailed that aspect of the figure too. So yeah, just another banger figure from Alter as we typically expect. I would say this is pretty close to flawless in terms of the paint apps, in terms of the sculpt. Might be like a quality control issue here and there, but like really minor, like a speck or two. Not gonna complain about that this time around because I don't really feel like it's worth it. I would be very nitpicky if I were to like point those out to you guys because it happens from time to time. And again, it's very minor. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for our unboxing today. Normally, I would like to have all the figures on the desk as a finale to send us off, but my room is a mess, and they're all over the place at this point, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's just end it. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you liked any of these figures, let me know in the comments below. Maybe let me know if you plan to pick any of these up after watching this video, and if you want to support the channel, subscribe and like, and maybe use one of my affiliate links to buy something for yourself or a friend. But that's gonna do it. I'll see you guys around next time. Might be some news, might be an event. I'm not really sure how this is gonna line up in the week, but I'll have more coming for you guys in the near future. See ya.